Assalamualaikum and very good morning to all. Welcome back to another Ferran Technology public live webinar. My name is Syahadatul Iskandar bin Rosli and I am the Senior Application Engineer at Ferran Technology Sdn Berhad. If you are new to Ferran Technology Sdn Berhad, Ferran Technology Sdn Berhad is the only licensed, approved and trusted Dassault systems vendor in Malaysia. We are your one-stop center for all Dassault system solution suites, from initial system installation to client-specific customization to training and support. Ferran Technology is your full coverage service source. We optimize customers' PLM support processes and offer all solutions to efficiently deploy and maintain PLM application infrastructures. In Dassault systems, we embrace probable questions such as ifs as points of improvement. That is why our favorite phrase here is if we. And we keep on asking ourselves questions such as if we can expedite our design process further by allowing the system to assist us intelligently, which part to reuse, which part to buy, or which part to make new, then we as an organization can definitely survive COVID-19 even in comfort of our home during this pandemic. Okay, with that said, please welcome our Senior Application Engineer at Ferran Technology Sdn Berhad, Mr. Fahim, to the stage.
Hello,
Welcome, Fahim. Good
Assalamualaikum.
morning.
Good morning.
Waalaikumsalam. Okay,
So,
Mr. Fahim here will present to us our webinar titled Sourcing and Standardization Intelligence today. Okay, um, as usual, if you have any questions during this webinar, please feel free to submit them in the chat area in this YouTube live, and I will bring them up during our 10 minutes Q&A session towards the end of this webinar. Okay, now without further ado, I will pass over the session to Fahim for his presentation. Over to you, Fahim.
thank you, Iskandar. Assalamualaikum to all. Very good morning. So, the topic today for my webinar is the sourcing and standardization intelligence. It uses 3D experience and platform from Dassault. It is NetVibes. We call NetVibes. So the main focus for today is we are talking about how we can maximize our profit. So maximizing our profit is as a product maker, doesn't matter if it is in automobile industries or any high tech industries or even in oil and gas industries. We want to maximize the standardization across our product variants or product lines if we have our product, so that whenever a new product came out, uh, less variabilities happens and we can maintain our quality, and also at the same time we can maximize our profit. So if we talk about standardization, so basically there are four substantial saving that we can have uh, by using standardization. We can reduce our purchases cost, reduce product complexity, and reduce the project risk. And it is all our product design are based on a cost oriented. So how to the experience help is that we help the company or an organization, whether they want to buy or make or using a standard part or create a new specific part for each product. So here are three main components that I want to talk about today, uh, about how we can help to the experience. That's all can help with the reuse of standard components and template management. So component preparation and standardization, we want to design a components against a company good practice. We want to source the component from the value network. We are talking here about a standard part like a screw, bolt, nut, standard motors, all that. And then we going to go to component classification, management and optimization. So here we manage the company's ontology with required taxonomies to serve all stakeholder, audit and monitor classified content to improve our component quality and relevancy. So here we are creating a classified how we can manage our library, how we can manage our catalog so that it is easier to be used for the whole company. And then finally, component reuse. Here we want to access intuitively to relevant component matching in the design intent and corporate practice. So here we are talking about a specific part that we can reuse from the previous design or previous product which are most matched so that we can reduce the cost of R&D, or we can reduce the cost of production by identifying which supplier are good for this particular parts. So let's go for the first one, the component preparation and standardization. So I will play a short video, just a brief video on what is a part supply. So for 3D sourcing, we have two base place in 3D SPN. It is a 3D SPN marketplace where we can source for a supplier here. It is over 1,000 supplier around the world. We can source for a standard part, and I think over 40 million parts are available. So we can have a tag here. We can tag by certain product, or we can tag by a supplier category, what kind of category. So here we can see the 3D part, the specification, the stress part, the functional part, or the mechanical properties, or even the drawings of these. And we can even make a comparison of what available. This is a comparison of different suppliers of a standard part. For example, here is a bearing. We can see which supplier provide this and how much does it cost. So here also we can see that this this particular bearing has a lot of common between the different. We can test our file here. This is from Katia. So we want to look for any for the part with similar geometry. So we can insert our geometry into the experience, our part, and it will search for standard part that have a similar geometry. Here, example, this particular knob has a few similar supplier, 3D similarity. You know, in this case, if we don't have any particular search search word, we can even use a 3D parts. So 3D experience will look the similarity in the 3D itself. So we can use CATIA V5, step file, or SolidWorks. That's a brief introduction. So basically, the 3D experience marketplace, we connect between the designers and the sellers, the suppliers, industrial service providers. Even from the designer perspective, even we start to connect between the designer and the supplier. I mean, uh, we don't have to go through all the process until the purchasing and then go back to the designer, back and forth. Here we can connect directly all the designer, the design and manufacturing engineers directly to the supplier. And you can explore this. You can create a free account on 3D Experience and then you can open the part supply to the experience.tds.com and make.tdexperience.tds.com. The make one is for a 3D printing marketplace. So if you have anything to 3D print, you can source it all around the world. As I mentioned before, we have over 1,000 content providers with over 40 million plus mechanical components. So it is ICS, ISO classification. It has a different standard attached to each part. You can search using a semantic search, shape similar search, configurator, catalog navigation, tag refinement. You can compare. You even have a light 3D player. The 3D player, the 3D model, it is embedded in, if you start your CATIA, I think CATIA V5 R25, it is embedded inside, and you can download add-in for SolidWorks, even for 3D experience by default in there. So next, we will go to component classification and management and optimization. So basically how we can help to manage our libraries, to manage your libraries, your company libraries, to how we can ease the process of standardization and reuse by using 3D experience. We'll look first a short video. So here, as a classification manager, what we are trying to do is that how we can help to create a library for a company, and we want to show how easily you can create your own classification, your own library by using 3D experience. Everything, I mean, is the GUI is already helping if we want to create a subclasses, a classes, a rectify, and even if we can create a classes based on a certain attribute. So here we can create attributes that are very specialized in some parts, and this will help our designers to easily find their products later in the design process. So if we look here, everything has been classified accordingly. And we can specify each parameters so that it is easier for the designer to search for this part. Here, as a designer, when he want to find a particular part, can navigate easily just using an attribute. Let's say fx over 6600, and all the parts that have that attribute can easily be found. So in addition to attaching their information to engineering data, the other roles in the organization also require the ability to view the product data through their own role-based classification. So most reuse catalog have a single monolithic classification taxonomy that define the organization of all product data. So all roles that need the data must access it through the same classification hierarchy. So usually this hierarchy is defined for the role that makes the most use of the data. So typically the product design function But to be effective, the product development process need to share information efficiently across all disciplines. So, so engineering, supplier management, marketing, legal, all related roles need to be able to collaborate and combine the resulting product information into a single source of truth. So the classification organization that makes sense for the product design may not intuitive for other roles. For marketing or supply manager may not have a good sense of engineering classes and may not be able to easily browse through or search in this organization. Similarly, the engineering attributes may not contain values that identify the criteria they need to select material for their use purpose. So, one approach to dealing with the requirement from multiple roles is to implement all the necessary attributes in the same classification system. So, the result, you can have a long list of attributes that are very difficult to search. It is also result in a system that is very unwieldy to maintain. Then the system becomes inflexible and static. So it is also even more prone to having inconsistently applied attributes, redundant element, and other mistakes. So, in order to efficiently collaborate, sorry. So, in order to efficiently collaborate in the product definition process, so in order to find the use material for their own task, so other groups require classification taxonomies attributes that are specific for their roles. You would have a different classification for each role. So here 3D experience library central, we call it, provide a different approach. It provides the ability to have multiple classification that simultaneously classify the same endpoints. So each role can view the product data through its own library with its own classification. Each library has its own attributes that are inherited based on where the object is in the taxonomy. Each taxonomy can be browsed and searched within its own role-specific definition. So this makes it very easy for each role to find and use the data within a single source of truth. So if there is a catalog in place, consider how the data in the catalog organized. Some catalogs are simply a single large collection of reusable material. Perhaps it is as simple as you are sorting by their alphabetical order. So the simple catalog do not provide sufficient data to search and for identify a target component. So frequently, one or more component would need to be retrieved and analyzed in order to make a reuse decision. So even in some cases, they need to be inserted to the design and tested in order to decide if it fits. So in some catalog, the data may be tied to the design and bombs where they were originally created. So to search for a reusable piece, engineers need to search through all the design. Those components are appropriate for use, may not be identified any differently from other less reusable components in the design. So other catalogs that are support only out-of-the-box organization system that cannot be modified, perhaps there is a way to organize components into a system out-of-the-box categories, but you have no ability to customize the categories to your company business need and product. So if reusable material is forced into classification system that does not fit, so searching for it will be inefficient. We will waste our time and the optimal component may even never be found. So today Experience Library Center provide a flexible N-level classification system that can be customized to your company business need and product. So the classification taxonomy is modified and managed in the running system using simple GUI, as you can see, uh, opposed to a product that require underlying schema to be modified and make change to the classification hierarchy. So this means that the owner of the reuse library can manage the taxonomy themselves rather than going through a specific like a modification or customization of the entire PLM system with IT. So this also means that the system can be responsive and change as need according to the business need. User can navigate also through the taxonomy with a graphical tree-based browser. As you walk through the hierarchy, the components for the selected level are displayed along with their relevant attribute. End user can easily create new component or classify one that already exists elsewhere in the system, such as part used in Engineering Central. The process of adding and managing component can also be controlled through Innovia or any other access control. So browsing and navigating is only one way to find something in the use library. Browsing is very effective if you know what you are looking for or roughly where it exists in the classification system. But if you are not sure where the component has been classified, you will need to look through the entire library. Or if you need to determine whether an appropriate component even exists, you need a more general search capability. Even more important is the ability to find the optimal component by finding all that meet a specific criteria and selecting the best one. So, does your current use system have the ability to define attributes that are specific to your company business need and product? So, are the attribute part of the formal definition or just a simply an ad hoc text field? So in many systems, adding an attribute to a class in the classification system has no meaning to other subclasses. So rarely do reuse systems have means for the subclasses to inherit the parent attribute. Can the reuse system create a group of attributes that can be reused? In many systems, part librarian must be manually added in the same common attribute across many classes or reapply the same attribute through multiple levels in the taxonomy. These issues make creation of sophisticated classification system very laborious and not scalable to many levels. So manually adding attributes is very error prone and can result in classes that not have appropriate attributes. So in order to make the system manageable, librarians frequently create a simple taxonomy with a few level and classes. The issue is also to make a system difficult to change and manage. The system can become static, they do not get improved or grow with change in the business need. So in turn, these characteristics make the system more difficult to use and such limit the reuse system effectiveness and often its use. So today, Experience Library Central provide a flexible, easy way to define classification attributes. The attributes have formal meaning to the taxonomy, can be inherited from class to subclass. So inheritance of attributes reduce the effort to create and maintain the classification system. It also enables attributes to be applied consistently across classes because the maintenance effort is low, the system are flexible and easily defined. So here as we can see, the dynamic attributes directly on the classified item listing. So when an item like a part or document is classified under a class, it inherits attributes from the attribute group associated with the class. So a user may view this inherited attribute in the classified item category listing. So it inherits from the classified item. Another topic that I want to touch is document retention. So the retention and deletion of documents per prescribed corporate policy is a normal part of business. So it impacts the cost of doing business by controlling the proper level of resources dedicated to storing business document. And it affects the legal exposure presented by holding this information, including potentially damaging information or information that would exonerate a company. A retention record object defines how long a document should be kept after it is obsolete. All the associated documents for that product also become obsolete. The retention record defines the length of the time to keep a document before it can be purged. Purge does not mean delete document. Purge record means the database can be purged. The database can be referenced as needed. So purging deletes the file checked into document object and change the object type to purge document. A retention hold the subject content all those data that need to be stored indefinitely. So this data usually is statutory or legal or should never be purged or deleted from the database. But if at some point your company does want to delete those documents, you can promote them to the release state and then delete them. You can only add document to the retention record or retention hold when it is in the active state. When it is promoted and scheduled state, you can remove documents, but you cannot add additional documents. So you cannot delete a document in retention hold object unless it is promoted to the release state. So another topic is tracking and report. So in many companies, trade deal is investment is made in developing and maintaining reuse material. So in order to understand where to invest in new parts development, a clear understanding of what being used and what is needed is required. So in order to improve the organization return on its reuse, so it is necessary to know what products or groups are effectively reusing material and which are not. So in order to improve the reuse system itself, what is being reused and how it is reused must be captured. So in most reuse system, there is no means to track actual usage. Usage is typically determined by word of mouth, which is sketchy at best and often error prone. So effort put into manually tracking the reuse increase the investment in the system. So demand placed on end user to document their usage increase their burden can discourage reuse system usage. So the Experience Library Center classify part in the same enterprise system used by other Innovia centers such as Engineering Center and Product Center. So it automatically keeps track of the product, where the product data is used or used, and can easily display where it is referenced with a single mouse click. So 3D Experience Library Center share the same reporting capability as the rest of the Innovia platform, which can be used to easily define customized report to fit any specific business need. So 3D Experience Library Center are not only specific to Dassault product. You can have your data came from any sources, I could say. could have been from an Oracle database or SQL Server or SAP or SharePoint or Team Center. So we can crawl through any all of this database, and it doesn't even matter the file type. The file type are very, it is not only 3D, it can be PDF, words, website, and IGES, stat, XML, a JSON. So it can be in any type of files, and also it can be from any kind of knowledge, whether it is from analysis knowledge, whether it is just a metadata, whether it is a drawing, any range of knowledge. And then finally, we come to the component use. So how we can reuse our component. So here we have here as a lead one part reduce. So what it does is it has three clear steps. We identify, we cluster, and we select. So we identify a similar part based on whether it's 3D shape, geometrical features like a holes, and semantic criteria. Uh, it is all using AI, machine learning, and we can even classify the data depending on the role perspective, whether according to company policy or whether it is according to a cost or assembly or certain item. And then finally, we select which one to publish to the engineering department. So we use the company standardization strategy. The source of one part use can be from PDM or PLF or even ERP or CRM or database, any SAP, Oracle. And then we go and create one single source of truth, and then from there we can analyze all information related to a single part, and then from there we can decide whether we want to reuse or make from those information. So the advantage here, it is a one-click search. You can search based on shape, or the functional similarity, or like a hole, or shape of holes, number of holes. So we can use the preferred by the company, and we can also insert it directly into the session. We can see whether it fit or not. Here, as an example here, it is Katia catalog. So using catalog, the designers can easily find and extend the right standard. Here, the designer can view classified components stored in catalog. Then we can filter based on certain attributes or certain specification, and then the component can be visualized to their key parameter. So for last one, I will be showing a demo video for this last part, for the reuse capability and the overall, including the overall cycle for the reuse activity. I play a demo video to show the whole cycle in the reuse activity. So here I am logging as part designer. I'm doing a search and discover. So here in this particular electric drive, is a motor electric drive. Here I have like a general, like a raw parts. I just make a raw box, with a very specific holes, so that we can see if I were to find any similarity by using a one part, we call it one part is where the function of looking for similarity into the experience. If I look through that, I can see some component that have similar shape, but it is not relevant to me. It is just a box, any box that we have in our library. But then if we want, if we research based on those particular like a geometrical, like a whole position, whole component, then we can search, we can see that there are some parts that are relevant to me for this design. So I can insert it and I can see directly in the session and whether the part here is fit to the project, to the product itself. So I can see it fits. So maybe I can use this part. But then what makes it more powerful is we can use this, and I drop, this is a 3D dashboard here. So I open the dashboard, there is one part, isolate one part, and then from there I can open it and I can see this 360 view, 360 view of this particular part. I can even access the properties, the size, the where it is used, and when it is used. Even this is the ERP sources, the part price, the supplier, where the location is in this all 360 views. So here also we can see some similarity and relation. So what is the parent of this product? So what is the related parts to this parent products? And also here we can see some part with sub 3D similarity and parts with similar whole layout. So we can use this criteria to search which component we need to use, we can use. And if I see all the item with 3D similarity here, I can look it using a table view for easier understanding of the data, or even I can use a graphical view or for a better feel of what is there in the database. And finally, I can compare all these parts that are similar. We can see in this comparison table which part are similar and what is the advantage of certain part compared to the others. But then when I look at the classification of this bracket 9, it is a linear bracket. But when I look at my IP classify and reuse Innovia app for a linear bracket here, I can see there is only two. There is only two parts defined in the linear bracket. But the one from I searched before, there are over like 7, 9, I think 10 parts are here. So what I want to do here, I need to create a task for a standard part manager because there are only two available. So I want to ask him whether we can add all these parts into linear bracket. And now I am logging in as a standard part manager. We are going to do a cross-program standardization. So I have just received a task. If you see previously, I received a task from a part designer, and then as a standard part manager, when I look at this task, I see the similarity also. It directly contextualize what is similar, and when I look at the bracket in the linear bracket, yes, there is only two available, but I can see much more here. So what I'm doing here is that I want to create a universe. When I create a universe like a standard for civil universe, we define the scope, and then we can create the similarity ratio like a 20% here, and we want to go through the my specific library, only search within my specific library. So we have this many potential part standard, and if you see in the gray corner here, it is the part where it is relevant, and if I filter it by a bracket, I can see there is 3 part relevant to a bracket. So if I look at bracket here, I go to a linear bracket. So I could see there are many parts that are similar, 7 you can see, and I can see this orange part here. This is in other similar cluster. So there is a cluster for that part, for the orange part, and there is 2 part also in that cluster in the pink part. So what I can do here, I can use a 3D markup to compare those part in the different cluster, whether it is the same. So we can see here actually, so the whole position is correct, it is the same within, even though it is different cluster, it is same whole position, so it can be used. And I'm checking this pink part here, whether it is same, so I merge those cluster into one single cluster. So right now, if we go to my linear bracket, after I publish it, I can see that uh, these two libraries here is helping to define on which classification needs to be, and then you can see the comparison. So we can see the numbers have grown up. So I'm selecting this basically based on the which are cheaper. And let's say here I want to put something cheaper, and I also want to put something that you should not be used. So here I'm selecting the pink part that should not be used for this particular project, for this particular universe, we call it. So I publish this. So when I publish this, it is actually being published into, so that people can search it using a linear bracket. So if you see here right now, the linear bracket classification have more part in it. Next, what I want to do is that I want an example here. If I look into gear, I already know it is a gear. I just need to search for gears per classification. So I can see there are few similar items. Even here for this particular product, I can say uh, not to use this particular product, but it doesn't even have any classification. And we just validate and publish it. So here we can see all our parts are here, and if we see a linear bracket, right now it have 11 and it has champion and not be used. And if we look here for the pink bracket that not in use, not for use, it is in standard in a civil. So what I want to do here as an example is I want to use this pink bracket available for other universe. Let's say in the military, we define the scope, and searching for any aerospace part, create the scope with a 5% similarity. And here we can see that it has these other two champion. But then I make this purple part not for use for this military universe. So if you can see in the universe for the standard, but for not for use in the military. And then I make it as completed for that task. So right now I'm still logging in as a standard part manager, but I want to do is I want to standardization check on the assembly. So how will this part fits on an assembly? So I create another universe, but this one is specific for assembly analysis. So we want to do a check motto for civil program. We define the scope here. So we search for this electric drive, our electric drive. And we look through all the parts available here in the assembly. And we can see parts here that are available for the assembly. So we select from our standard civil from what we have defined before. And we run. And we check there is a 45 part in the assembly. And there is 42 part that may have been replaced. And 240 euro may still be saved. And 93 parts in the universe scope. So we will look through this. And here we can see all the parts in the assembly, and those in red are the parts that we can take our focus more. So because for this part, it is a part that should not be used, as we defined before. So it is part in the assembly, but it should not be used. So what we can do is that if we click that part, we can see in which position are those parts in the assembly. So I found another alternative for that part, and I create the task for our part designer to check whether we can use this other different part, because the part that are already there is cannot be used, defined as cannot be used. Another thing is that there's a tag here where I say money that can be still be saved. So example here, the most money that we can be saved is for this bearing here. So here, if I see, this is the part that are currently in the assembly. The price is 119. But if we select the cheapest part, the $25, we can save 188 euro. So I creating a task for a part designer to check whether we can option for this cheaper part. Okay. So here we are looking at the master part alternative. So here we see that there are some cheaper options for this part. As you can see, the purple and the blue is cheaper option. So I just create another task for a designer to check this, whether we can use this other two option. Okay. Right now I'm logging as part designer for use standard in CATIA. So we have here three other, as a designer as previous, we have three more tasks that have been assigned to us. We want to check between the other part, these two parts, whether the part that suggested the champion can be used. So I open this part, I insert it into this electrical drive. I replace, and then I will save this part and it will be updated. So you see there is no more highlighted as red. And then we check for the motor, for the standard part. We want to check these two champion, whether it fits in the design. So it can be used in standard civil. We insert this part and see whether all the holes are matched. So we say this can be done. And then same for the last one. And lastly, I go to as a part designer, want to make a decision whether you want to buy or make a certain part. So here, the part that I'm looking for is the rod end bearing. We have a few suppliers that are available for this part, the rod end bearing. We look for the part supply community, what are available in the market. Looking through what available in Germany, we look from another supplier. So we can filter this by engineering attributes, which one you want to select. So after we have for some engineering spec, we agreed to take this one, and then I will download this part and then what I want to do this is that I want to compare on what is available in the company, and we can make our decision there whether we want to buy or make. So from what available in the company, if we compare all of this, uh, so we have this cost attached to this supplier EMEA have a 34 euro price, and I think that's all from me. So I think I pass back. Wait, sorry. Yeah, sorry. This is final slide. So basically, as I mentioned before, the flow of how we can do this is first we need to define the corporate library to make it easier for the designers and standard part manager, and then we identify the standard IP and classify. And for design process, first we can identify If we have anyone to supply for the part, we can search for the part supply community, and then we can create a new classification for a certain project, and then we can suggest completion of classification from non-classified, and then based on suggestion, we can mark a few part, and then we can publish it to the company library, and then it can be used for the designer. So I think that's all. I think I pass back to Iskandar. Hello, Iskandar.
Oh, sorry, I got muted. Okay, thank you for the demonstration and presentation, Fahim.
Okay.
So I think this approach that we presented in our webinar is a new approach to Malaysian industry, whereby we create a platform for both engineers and suppliers to share their components or products, and then these components or products can be directly injected into the current design of the designer. And we also touch on digital library, right? So as
Yeah.
opposed to conventional ways whereby the suppliers give us the engineers their product catalogs, sometimes thousands pages. Now we can put those catalogs inside the digital library, and based on the digital librarian, we can sort the products according to usage or other criteria as needed by the organization, right? Fine.
Yes, yes. So it
Uh,
also simplify the search for the whoever the product maker are, whether we can search by their, instead of just looking for specific part, we can search for 3D similarity for better.
yes, yes. And I think the most important aspect of this presentation just now is the comparison aspect of it, whereby we can directly compare the components by different suppliers, or even in comparison to our existing stocks in the organization. So that's a very convenient method of uh, giving a higher perspective to our capability of deciding whether we want to reuse our components or to buy it or to make a new component. I think we will take a short break before we proceed with our Q&A session, and we will go visit our chat area or comment area whether we have any questions submitted by the audience. And by doing so, I will play a short video right now. So we will meet back again after the short video ended. So please enjoy this short video prepared by Fahim. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so welcome back, Fahim. I have
Hello.
gone to the chat area. It seems like we have not that much question. I have some question here in my WhatsApp. I tried to type it into the chat area, but I haven't checked the whole questions that I have received. I have one question here. The questioner asks whether do we have local suppliers in the supplier list that you flashed earlier that we mentioned. We have over 1,000 suppliers in the system, so there are some
Yeah.
queries. We have local suppliers.
Uh, I don't remember, but from what I know, we does not have any local supplier yet. But it is very possible because basically for a local supplier they need to register with to the experience, but that's also mean they need to register with Ferran. So I think I haven't heard anyone is using supplier, but most of our supplier are from Europe and China currently.
Okay. I think this next question is related to the first one. I think the connotation of the question is like this: if there is no local suppliers in the supplier list, how easy is it, or how easy will it be to include our products as a supplier?
Yeah, so it's actually very easy. You can publish your content there. You can go to Fairrun uh, because we have a part supply program that we can, because basically the one that I will just promote in the video is more on a production of a buyer. For in term of a seller, we have like a different program where you can manage your own part to be there. You will have your own dashboard. We have a particular license for that. So uh, it is actually very easy. So I I do not I cannot show you how, but basically right now the country that we have there is like over 43 country. If I can share my screen.
Okay, let me put the screen share again in our main window. Okay, this. Do you want to make it a full screen, or is this okay?
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay.
So here, if you can see here, this is list of supplier that are currently there. The country, it
Oh,
is
so far there is none for Malaysia, is it?
none from Malaysia, but in
Ah,
Asian there is one from Vietnam.
oh,
So,
even
but
even we don't have any for Singapore, from Singapore.
no from part supply, no. So this is
Ah,
only specific for part. I'm not sure. Maybe they don't have any part manufacturers, standard part manufacturer in Singapore. Oh, Singapore, yeah, we have three.
ah.
We have Anval, FCI, and PBA.
So that is the nearest country to us.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But that's depend on the product. And I mean, in
Hmm.
Malaysia now, we source most of standard part from China, right? We have lot
Yep.
of lot of supplier from China, and with a lot of products here.
Hmm.
If we go to by categories from China, we have over 2,000 categories from China. From machine
Hmm.
element, electrical, machine apparatus. It will make your supplying much easier. For
Because
the become a supplier part, I will look into it more if you can wait a few minutes.
Because I remember during my time working in one of the manufacturers of jigs and fixtures in aerospace industry. We normally use catalogs by RS or Misumi in Japan, and
Mm.
their catalog is huge. See, and they also have their own websites, which provides 3D models of their own. So can these sorts of suppliers where they have their own 3D contents website available in the internet, can they become our supplier list as well and import all the 3D components into our platform?
Yeah, yeah. Basically, any supplier can join this program. So
Mm.
for the enrollment for seller, so we have what we call a part supply enterprise where we we I think we call you as our service provider. So so here what we can do is that it just basically just give you a dashboard license, and then from there you can just import your part to the supplier to I mean you are open to all these Katia user to the experience user from all over the world. So actually there is nothing much, so anyone can join this program. There is not an issue. uh, if you have any question on how to become one, you can just contact us, and because we have our enrollment program.
I see. Okay, so moving on to the next question, I just type it in our chat area. Oh, yeah, yeah, displaying the part supply. All right.
Yeah, yeah, you can go on.
Okay. Because we have a next question here. It relates to the one that you demonstrated. From the search result, right? We can drag and drop the components into our current design. So the question is the drag and drop concept works with Katia V5 as well, or only within the 3D experience environment?
Yes, it work with Katia V5, SolidWorks, Katia 3D Experience. It work well with those three software. For Katia V5, actually, we already have it embedded since R25 in 2015. And in SolidWorks, you can just install the add-in. In Katia 3D Experience, it's already in there.
Okay. I think that's all the questions that came through me. Okay. For the audience, if you have any further questions, feel free to submit those questions in the comment area later in this same webinar recording link, because we are going to check up our all our webinars recording regularly to see whether we have any fresh questions submitted by the audience or the fresh viewers. Okay, Fahim, before we wrap up, do you have anything more to add?
Yeah, you can just go to the website partsupply.3dexperience.3ds.com, and it even have a link where you can become a content provider and you can book a demo over there.
Okay.
If you,
So, with that said, I think we come to the end of our webinar session for today. This recording will be available in this YouTube channel for future reviewing. To get further updates and notifications on our future live webinar, please like, subscribe, and share this YouTube channel. And while you are here, do check out my other video playlist for more informations on our products and our capabilities. Okay, Fahim. See you
Okay.
next time.
See you
Thank
next
you for
time.
joining us.
Thank you.
Bye.
Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam.